Now, moments before the Chauvin trial verdict came down yesterday, police in Columbus and they're using this tragic incident again to further smear police officers as unrepentant, vile racists. Among them is former Obama flunky Valerie Jarrett, who framed the Columbus incident like this, saying a black teenage girl named Ma'Khia Bryant was killed because a police officer immediately decided to shoot her multiple times in order to break up a knife fight. Demand accountability, fight for justice. Now, let's get something straight. It's not a knife fight, but only one person is armed and doing the attacking. That's called a stabbing. And watching...
Продолжим разговор с Алексеем Владимировичем Сидневым, руководителем сети гериатрических центров по уходу и реабилитации Senior Group, после выпуска новостей.
Имеются противопоказания. Необходима консультация специалиста.
В Москве 13 часов 30 минут. В студии Марина Старостина. В середине часа на эхе краткий выпуск новостей. Парламентская ассамблея Совета Европы приняла резолюцию с призывом освободить российского политика Алексея Навального до 7 июня. В этот день должно начаться заседание Комитета министров Совета Европы по теме прав человека. Резолюцию в ПАСЕ сегодня поддержали 105 депутатов, 26 проголосовали против, 11 воздержались. И также говорится о необходимости предоставления оппозиционеру необходимой медицинской помощи. С середины марта Навальный находится в исправительной колонии. Он держит голодовку уже больше 20 дней. Накануне в Москве, Санкт-Петербурге и других городах России стоялись, и не только России, стоялись акции в поддержку политика. Совет НАТО поддержал Чехию, которая обвинила российские спецслужбы в причастности к взрыву на складе боеприпасов в Моравии в 2014 году. По итогам экстренного заседания в Брюсселе было заявлено, что Североатлантический альянс глубоко озабочен дестабилизирующими действиями России в Евроатлантическом регионе. При этом, как отмечает ТАСС, в заявлении ничего не говорится о возможной коллективной высылке дипломатов России. Прага к этому призывала своих союзников. В Кремле сегодня сообщили, что Владимир Путин и Александр Лукашенко в ходе переговоров обсудят попытку диверсии в Беларуси. По словам пресс-секретаря президента, проведут встречу в Кремле, и, скорее всего, она завершится уже поздно вечером. В интервью телеканалу «Беларусь-1» Дмитрий Песков сказал, что Москва и Минск постоянно сталкиваются с недружественной политикой.
Мы и по отдельности, Беларусь и Россия, и вместе являемся постоянной целью и объектами нападок со стороны других стран. И поэтому нам, собственно, просто нужно привыкнуть жить в состоянии такой внешней угрозы, в состоянии, когда внешняя окружающая среда агрессивна, враждебна и недружелюбна. И, конечно, уязвимость или Москвы, или Минска, она, конечно, усиливает опасность для второй страны. Это абсолютно бесспорно.
Последний раз президенты России и Беларуси встречались 22 февраля в Сочи. Самолет-заправщик Ил-76, у которого заклинило стойку шасси, благополучно совершил посадку в подмосковном аэропорту Жуковский, сообщили ТАСС в экстренных службах. На борту находились 16 человек. Техническая неисправность была обнаружена, как утверждается, после вылета из аэропорта. В пресс-службе Объединенной авиастроительной корпорации между тем утверждает, что самолет проходит программу летных испытаний. Премьер Михаил Мишустин поручил производить выплаты на школьников без волокиты и лишних заявлений со стороны родителей. По его словам, правительство в рамках реализации послания президента готовит целую систему мер поддержки семей. Единовременные выплаты на каждого школьника должны составить по 10 тысяч рублей. С 1 июля на детей из неполных семей будут назначаться выплаты более чем в 5,5 тысяч рублей. Также родителям будет возвращаться половина стоимости путевки на отдых в детские летние лагеря. Официальный курс доллара на завтра 76 рублей 42 копейки, евро 92 рубля 4 копейки. В Москве сейчас плюс 12 градусов, ночью обещают плюс 5-7, завтра днем плюс 14-16, местами осадки. Марина Старостина, служба информации, Эхо Москвы.
These people want there to be hatred and evilness in our country. They want police officers to be demonized. They want police officers in the public to have conflict so they can continue to get better ratings. They can continue to get reelected, to keep promising the public something they can never deliver on.
They seem almost disappointed, do they not, Brandon, when the facts don't exactly match up with the police, whether it's the skin color of one of the people involved or whether it was a weapon involved. They actually seem disappointed, so they just stick with the lie.
Right, they either have a meltdown or they completely lie about it because it makes them look like hypocrites. This is a perfect example of a gentleman like Chauvin who obviously got convicted, and then you see an officer actually saving somebody's life in the same city before the verdict was rendered. So it dismantles their whole project of lying to the public about police involvement with the public. I really am sick and tired of listening to these people get on TV with no accountability. They are flat out lying and stoking violence in our communities. And I hate to say this, but these black leaders are equally as ignorant as the people that you showed at the beginning of the show, because they are pushing an agenda that hurts them. This is not hurting white people. This is making other black people become more violent, feel like that their lives are in danger by police, which is a myth, and they're going to end up getting hurt and ended up dying and not having patrols in their communities, which make their communities more violent. This is not hurting white people. This is hurting black people, and it's perpetuated by a lot of black leaders.
Well, it's not hurting black celebrities either, is it?
No, LeBron James is living on a high horse. He's in a multi-million-dollar house living around nothing but white people. He is not affected by none of this violence. He could care less, and at the drop of a dime, he'll have white officers at his house doing investigations on false claims if there is some. So LeBron James and these wealthy people like the BLM co-founder living in million-dollar houses, they don't care. They just want to push a virtue signal because they have nothing better to do. They're not educated enough to look at things from both sides, and they continue to want to push a narrative that's just not true. And I really wish they would be held accountable and at least ashamed of what they're doing to our country.
Well, the truth ultimately will win out. Brandon, thank you. And Joe Biden's tour of a green energy company has a dirty secret. Plus, George W. Bush paints his canvas within the party with a broad brush. Raymond Roy unpacks it all, seen and unseen, next.
News. I'm Lillian Wu. Dante Wright, the 20-year-old shot and killed by former Minnesota police officer Kim Potter, will be laid to rest today.
Officials say Potter confused her handgun for her taser as she was trying to subdue him during a traffic stop. Hundreds of people turned up for the wake of Dante Wright last night at Shiloh Temple International Ministries in North Minneapolis, where civil rights attorney Benjamin Crump said,
"Your conscience tells you it is the right thing to do to stand up."
Fox's Jill Nato and the House votes today on legislation that would make Washington, D.C. the 51st U.S. state. The measure expected to pass, then be sent to the Senate, where its fate is uncertain. It would give D.C. 2 U.S. senators and a voting House representative. America's listening to Fox News.
To judgment in the media. There was a leak in the law enforcement that there shouldn't have been.
Alexander's writing partner, Kevin Salwin, who was with the Wall Street Journal at the time, notes some of Juul's actions and tips from people who knew him raised serious questions.
In the public consciousness, you had a guy who was absolutely convictable, even though he was absolutely the hero.
Salwin sees the case in media frenzy as a social media, likening it to stories of others who were falsely accused, such as the Duplo Cross players.
All of a sudden, they are, again, tried and convicted in the court of public opinion. And this is a very dangerous trend. We all move on, right? Except for the people who have been in the crosshairs of that kind of experience. It's very damaging.
After his exoneration, Richard Juul filed a number of lawsuits against media outlets. He died in 2007. In Atlanta, Steve Harrigan, Fox News.
Hedgehog cactus.
Cactus are pretty robust plants.
Probably 30 plus years old.
Until they meet their ultimate match, people.
There seems to be an uptick in the rare cactus trade, especially overseas. There's a huge market for that.
More and more people are coming into Arizona to illegally dig up and sell wild cactus. U.S. Customs and Border Protection's agriculture specialists have already intercepted more than 100 illegal cactus shipments since 2017. And those are just the people they've caught.
It's illegal in Arizona to dig up cactus anywhere unless you have a permit.
Over at Saguaro National Park, there's been multiple thefts.
The value of saguaro cactus is enough that it could be a felony if somebody were to take a saguaro cactus from the park.
10 years ago, park rangers started putting these tiny tagging devices into some of the most vulnerable cactus. It's called pit tagging, sort of like microchipping a dog, but thefts are still happening.
We don't believe that it's happening on a daily basis or a weekly basis, but we do believe that on a regular basis, people are attempting to take cactus from the park, and this program is a way to discourage that.
Popularity of owning these prickly plants is growing. Latest numbers show overall sales grew 64% between 2012 and 2017, a market now estimated to be worth thousands.
It's all about supply and demand. They can range anywhere from, $20 to $200.
Local Cactus Club member Javier Garola says people will illegally sell the plants almost anywhere.
Yeah, eBay, Craigslist, in the back of a pickup in a parking lot.
Unfortunately, not a lot can be done. For now, it's down to people like Garola to educate and protect these plants.
So you just enjoy them by visiting their habitats. That way they leave a living legacy for other future generations to enjoy.
If you cut down a cactus like the saguaro over here, you could face up to 25 years in prison and a hefty fine. You still need a permit to cut down a saguaro, even if it's on your own property. In Phoenix, Stephanie Bennett, Fox News. Hello to our viewers in Portugal. Thanks for watching Fox on MEO. If you want the latest reports from our correspondents, visit foxnews.com.
Nobody.
We're looking at a reopening.
Brings you America's business news
right from the get-go. Let's get to the market.
And what it means for you.
Timing is everything. The rally, you got to stay with us.
Like Fox Business, keeping you ahead of the curve.
The most trending topic in America right now.
With insight into the impact of U.S. and global markets.
That stock's getting almost all of the attention.
From the people you can trust.
This is really good news.
Fox Business, America's business network.
It's time for our Seen and Unseen segment where we reveal the real stories behind the headlines. For that, we turn to Fox News contributor Raymond Arroyo. Raymond, Biden virtually toured an electric vehicle plant the other day, right? But there were some short circuits along the way.
I'll say. And major conflicts of interest, Laura, which I'll get to in a moment. Despite his vaccination, the president, believe it or not, is still holed up in the White House, and the staff is clearly running the show. From the start, this tour sounded like visitation time at the rest home, and Biden stuck to the script.
We have you visiting today Proterra, a leading U.S. manufacturer of electric buses, batteries, and charging infrastructure. Proterra sold its first electric bus in 2009 using funds from the Recovery Act.
What sort of testing do you put the buses through? They tell me, how does it feel? How do you do the first plug-in? I mean, how's that work?
And what time is the sing-along, Nurse Betty? Do you read everything written on those cards? Here's the problem with this virtual tour of Proterra. Biden's energy secretary, Jennifer Granholm, owns at least $5 million of stock in this company, Laura, and she sat on the board of directors for years. Now, this infrastructure bill that Biden and Granholm are pushing dedicates $174 million to the electric vehicle market and $45 billion to these zero-emission buses that the company builds. I mean, the fix is in here. This is a bad look.
Well, how do you do that plug-in deal? When do you plug it in? Where do you plug it? Is it like a toaster, or is the plug bigger? Do I get one of those adapters?
Laura, there was one concerning moment during this Proterra tour. For a tech company, managing tech is apparently a problem.
Thanks for the tour, kid. Can't hear you, kiddo. Oh, I got her.
No. There you go. Take this.
Morgan, maybe you can hold that phone speak a little closer to you. Why don't you try it now?
When Biden's offering you tech advice, Laura, you're in trouble. So I worry about this federal subsidy.
All right, Raymond, George W. Bush resurfaced, and he's pushing a new book of his paintings and, of course, bashing the GOP.
If you were to describe the Republican Party as you see it today, how would you describe it?
I would describe it as isolationist, protectionist, and to a certain extent nativist.
Thank you, sir. May I have another? Raymond, your reaction.
Laura, there's an obvious crisis at the border. 55% of Americans in a Quinnipiac poll have problems with the way Joe Biden is handling it. What does President Bush think he's accomplishing by reverting to this
ingratiating himself with the elite?
He said this for years about the isms. You know, we got the protectionism and the xenophobism and. But former President Bush's book is a collection of his paintings of immigrants with a political purpose.
I do want to say to Congress, please put aside all the harsh rhetoric about immigration. I hope I can help set a tone that is more respectful about the immigrant. One can create a lot of fear. You know, they're coming after you. But it's a nation that is willing to accept the refugee or the harmed or the frightened. To me, it's a great nation.
I'm not sure if these amateur paintings, Laura, well-intended though they be, accomplish the desired end. I mean, look, they're not exactly John Singer Sargents. And if he wanted to commemorate a marginalized group, one that Mr. Bush actually had a real impact upon, he could have captured Iraqi Christians, say, brutalized by ISIS. Just a thought.
Well, he's an amateur painter there, Raymond. I couldn't paint as well as he. But the good news is he's taking painting lessons, I understand. So, oh, there's Henry Kissinger. Did someone tell him that's his painting? Gosh, God bless him.
I don't think so.
Well,
I'm waiting for the finger paints. I'm waiting for the presidential finger paints.
But Raymond, he has on the isms. You forgot isolationism. He accused us of that as well.
Next time.
The other isms. All right, Raymond.
I should show you this. Before we get out, Kamala Harris, after the Chauvin announcement, you need to just see this.
We can't go to it, Raymond. We're going to have to hold it. Okay. We have no time, Raymond. Thank you. And Democrats are seizing on racial strife in the country to transform policing through legislation. What would that mean? And how can Republicans stand in the way? Senator Tom Cotton has thoughts. He'll be here next.
The Fox News app, it has it all. Breaking news, alerts, opinion, and all your favorite shows available anytime. The Fox News app. Download it today.
Vintro is a platform that matches users directly with mentors who give them advice on ideas, featuring many industry leaders you've seen on Mornings with Maria, including Barbara Corcoran and Mark Mobius, among others. The founder of Vintro, Noor Shagru, joins me now. Noor, nice to have you this morning. Thanks very much. Explain how the business works.
Thank you so much for having me, Maria. So I founded Vintro back in January of 2018, and it was really born out of thinking about the question, how do people with good ideas get access to resources today? And very, very quickly I came to the conclusion it's a lot about who you know. Maybe you went to the right school, maybe you had access to the right social network. Vintro is all about trying to change that dynamic and about trying to open up the doors to countless opportunities for people who have otherwise have been excluded. You know, leaders only take meetings through friends or friends of friends because they're afraid of having their time wasted. So any way that we can try and democratize this access, the better. And you know what Vintro does is we guarantee access to direct access to some of the leaders you mentioned and others, including Gary Cohen, Barbara Corcoran, Mark Mobius, as you mentioned. But that's really what it's about. And the leaders really join because they believe in the mission. They want to give back to the industries that brought them up. They want to help new and exciting businesses that they're passionate about. And that's really what this is about, making sure that no good idea is left behind.
Noor, what kind of questions do they have for the mentors? What kind of issues are discussed?
We have businesses of all sizes coming to us with lots of different questions. What I typically tell people is this. The ask is open, so dream big, because you can ask for whatever you want. We have people coming to us looking for investment, mentorship, new board members, new sales channels. I mean, the list is endless. Even in the creative space, we're having people submit movie pitches to Oscar-winning producers and music auditions. So it's been really exciting to see how people utilize the platform.
All right, Noor, great idea. Noor Shagru will be watching. Thanks very much for being here.
Bishop T.D. Jakes is so much more than just a preacher, but then you can also say all of his global ventures serve his higher calling as a man of God.
The enemy is scared of the greatness that God has inside of you.
The greatness of Bishop T.D. Jakes is a phenomenon of biblical proportions, a dynamic preacher with a bellowing voice whose ministry at the 30,000-member Potter's House in Dallas, Texas,
Que el tiempo se les acabó.
Venezuela,
Que el tiempo se les acabó.
all the way to Kenya. He's an entrepreneur, filmmaker, author of several books, a radio and talk show host.
I've always been bivocational, and I think I'm successful, but you have to realize I'm comparing that to the wages of my father, who was a janitor.
Born in South Charleston, West Virginia, his mother an educator. His father started his own janitorial service. He grew up in the racially and politically tense years of the 1960s, but with parents who were strong in their faith. When his father died, Jakes at 16 turned to the only help he knew, the Bible.
I was searching through the pages looking for mentoring and guidance and answers and to fill the void of losing my natural father and ran into my heavenly father, and that started a journey of which I am still on yet today.
In 2001, Time magazine called him America's best preacher.
What I am is a communicator. Whether it is on a stage or whether it's with a pen, I am communicating to this generation.
Bishop Jakes has also made it a priority to reach out to the black community about the safety of the COVID vaccine, and most recently held an online forum with medical experts and Dr. Anthony Fauci to dispel any fears and myths. In New York, Lauren Green, Fox News.
Hello, this is Fox Extra. Hello to our friends watching in Peru on Telefonica. Thank you for choosing Fox. Keep it here.
For Democrats, the Chauvin trial wasn't about seeking justice, but about seeing their anti-police narrative take hold. Now, this is so they can upend our entire criminal justice system.
It's a system that needs to be reimagined, reoriented, and revamped.
It's got to be transformational. It's got to be meaningful. It's got to be comprehensive in order to meet the moment.
We are not the America that we should be, but I think yesterday signifies that we are moving in the right direction to become the America that we were created to be.
So what does transforming mean? Well, it means fewer cops and more social workers, woke training sessions for officers of a certain skin color, and shakedown payments for groups like the ACLU and the NAACP. Joining me now, Arkansas Senator Tom Cotton. Senator, thanks for being with us. So when people hear the George Floyd Policing Act, I think a lot of people have the impulse to think, oh, this is long overdue. But what is actually in this bill that people might not know that could damage law and order and public safety?
You know, what they should think about when they think about that bill, Laura, is the need to get security systems for their homes and firearms for their families, and talk to their police officer friends who are probably going to be heading for retirement. Because that bill would make it so dangerous to be a police officer and so dangerous for our communities. Just look at the fact that it would open up police officers to more lawsuits from the very criminals that they are arresting to protect our communities. The last thing we need to do is make it even harder to police our streets in America at a time when we see a crime wave crashing across American cities.
Well, when you think of police officers in this climate today, I actually really worry about their safety. We want all Americans of all colors to be safe and secure on the streets. But if you're a police officer in a uniform and you're on a patrol by yourself today, especially in areas that are having trouble with crime, is it more dangerous than it was, a week ago, or less dangerous? I say more.
Yeah, I think it's very dangerous, Laura. Just look what happened in Columbus, Ohio. You had an officer who showed up apparently in the middle of an attempted murder, and he shot this woman who apparently had a knife in her hand and saved the would-be victim. Now, that's just the videotape we've seen. We don't want to jump to conclusions, but that's what appears to happen from that videotape. We'll have a thorough and fair inquiry into it. But what did LeBron James, one of the most famous and influential people in the world, do today? He posted that officer's picture on social media and said, "You're next." I mean, that is the kind of incitement to violence against police officers that is revolting. Now, LeBron James later took down that statement, but you can't erase the kind of terrible judgment that shows, especially when it comes from someone who is so deeply in bed with the Chinese Communist Party, yet he will slander his fellow citizens who are simply trying to protect innocent victims from an attempted murder.
Now, you mentioned, Senator, rising crime across the country, and that might happen regardless. Well, while their bosses at the DOJ say that policing needs to be changed and reduced, others are the FBI is preemptively sending a warning to local police departments about a spike in crime this summer. Your response?
Yeah, we just saw the biggest one-year increase in the murder rate on record in America. And as more police officers are worried about the feds coming down on them like a ton of bricks, you shouldn't be surprised if the police become more hesitant to aggressively do their job to protect our communities, which just means there's going to be more crime. And then you have big cities, or sometimes even states, eliminating the bail system and turning out violent criminals who just got arrested and arraigned for committing a crime onto the streets again. So many times we've seen crimes committed by people who should be locked away in prison.
The media and the Democrats are saying you guys are absent from the conversation over policing. Watch.
Plan to put forth for the American people.
Republicans aren't on board with this legislation, and in part because
спросили, читают ли они за рулем СМС и как
можно больше. Yeah, exactly. Is it a one shot? Is it one?
Just like those targeted internet ads.
The best kind of documentaries.
Okay. All right. What's next?
Out of Thin Air. This was a really bizarre story. Set in Iceland. Now I watch a lot of Scandinavia, and I love it. And it's shot just like that. There's lots of snow falling in slow motion.
Yes.
All that. But if you've ever been to Iceland, you'll know what a peaceable place it is.
Do you know, I've only ever been there on the way to America, because when I lived in Scotland, Iceland Air used to do a flight from Glasgow and Edinburgh to New York, but you had to stop off in Keflavik, which involved a trip to the Blue Lagoon before you got on the second plane. So that's the only bit of Iceland I've really seen.
Все нам понятно, и тоже соотносится с...
живописные картины в офисы в Загребе.
Other outlets ignore these stories because they're the stories that matter.
A special preview of the new Fox Nation series, Tucker Carlson Originals, Friday on Fox News Channel.
To me, it's no secret. It's just that you try to live and treat people the way you would like to be treated.
Hi, Bertie, how are you?
Hey, Bertie.
Bertie Bowman is talking about how he has survived and thrived on Capitol Hill for 3/4 of a century.
He's quite a guy, I'll tell you that. Foreign Relations Committee is the best committee on the Hill.
Bertie, I'm supposed to be the star here. I don't get
Yeah, you're the star. You are the star. You're just like a pot of gold to me. I work with good people, and boy, do they treat me nice.
His story starts in 1944, when, as one of 14 children of tenant farmers, he happened to hear South Carolina Senator Burnett Maybank.
I heard the words, if you're ever in Washington, stop by and see me. When he was getting ready to get in his car, the guy was over. I ran and grabbed his coattail and asked him, if I come to Washington, can I stop by and see him? He said, yes, my boy.
How old were you?
I was about 12 and a half, they're 13. I was going on 13.
You took off for Washington at 13?
Yes.
Maybank hired Bowman to sweep the Capitol steps for $2 a week. He worked his way up, meeting the country's most powerful politicians and enjoying an insider view of Congress.
Bertie Bowman, the former clerk of this committee for 500 years.
We knew everything that comes in. We knew everything that goes out. We knew all of the business of every senator and everything.
He was close with titans of the Hill, like Jesse Helms.
Агрегатора, рассказывал Нельсон.
Эта опера была задумана.
He was like Slavic, but he looked a bit like Charles Manson, unfortunately for him.
Right.
So when these two guys, Chudowski was going out with a Icelandic girl, and she got convicted of an embezzlement. They were young kids, they tried to embezzle some money, they did embezzle some money, got caught. When they were leaving the police station, this woman, they asked her if they knew anything about these missing men, just an off chance of that. And she said that she had a dream, and by the end of the day, by the end of that day in questioning, she confessed and admitted to all kind of weird things. I've got the police thinking they must know something about him. And this guy looking a bit like Manson.
NASA and SpaceX are about to take recycling to a higher level. Here's correspondent Tim McGuire.
NASA Commercial Crew Program Manager Steve Stitch says a coming launch is on.
We'll go for launch.
On Thursday morning, an international crew of 4 astronauts will board a previously used SpaceX Dragon capsule on board a previously used Falcon rocket for launch from Cape Canaveral to the International Space Station. Benji Reed of SpaceX prefers the term flight-proven.
Reused vehicles and flight-proven vehicles is key towards greater flight reliability and lowering the cost of access to space.
Each capsule is designed for at least 5 missions with a crew. The Falcon can be used 10 times for satellites. SpaceX and NASA are assessing how many times it can safely launch astronauts. I'm Tim McGuire.
Pope Francis asks a U.S. bishop to resign after a cover-up investigation. Correspondent Walter Ratliff tells us why.
A Roman Catholic diocese in Minnesota says Pope Francis asked his bishop to resign after he was investigated by the Vatican for allegedly interfering with past investigations into clergy sexual abuse. Francis accepted the resignation of Bishop Michael Heppner and named a temporary replacement to run the Crookston Diocese. Heppner is accused of stating that a priest was fit for ministry, despite allegedly knowing the priest had abused a 16-year-old boy in the early 1970s. Heppner is the first bishop known to be investigated by the Vatican under a 2019 law that outlines procedures for preliminary investigations against bishops accused of sex abuse or cover-ups. I'm Walter Ratliff.
The tech world continues to buzz over Apple unveiling some new subscriptions, updates, and products. Ed Donahue has the latest on the new Apple offerings.
CEO Tim Cook says there are new iPads, iMacs, and a gadget called AirTags.
We can't wait to get these new products into your hands.
AirTags are the size of a coin.
The next time the couch eats your keys, AirTag will help find them.
Carolyn Wolfman Estrada with Apple says AirTags help you find them using an iPhone. Tim Bajarin with Creative Strategy says AirTags are precise.
It even has a directional arrow that will point you in the direction of where it is.
There will also be a new feature from Apple requiring apps to obtain explicit permission from users before tracking their activity and whereabouts. This could hurt apps like Facebook that rely on personal information to sell targeted ads. I'm Ed Donahue.
Well, you know where to find us, America in the Morning, right here. For April 22nd, 2021, our show is produced by Jeff McKay, senior producer Kevin Delaney. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One.
Deep down, we all feel we're good people. Sometimes, all we need is our chance to shine.
Hi, my name is Vicki DeYoung. I volunteer with Project Second Chance, our adult literacy program, and I help adults that are learning disabled or that are ESL students. You'd be surprised at how many people don't really know how to read. It was astounding to me. Once you've heard a story about someone who couldn't read to their grandchildren or couldn't help their children with homework, it just tears at your heart. I called up Project Second Chance and said I would like to volunteer. I have made new friends with my students. It's just been so rewarding to see them grow. It makes me feel good inside that I've been able to help someone like that. It's just what we should all do. There's always something that you can volunteer to do.
Find that cause that will let your light shine down with Project Shine.
Go to KABC.com now to connect with Project Shine. Southern California's undisputed talk leader, KABC, Los Angeles, Orange County, a Cumulus station.
Good morning to you. It's 4 a.m. on this Thursday, April the 22nd, and here are today's top headlines. Standing what should be 40 feet underwater, Governor Gavin Newsom declares a drought emergency for 2 California counties, while critics say it needs to be statewide.
And a teenager fighting for her life at a local hospital after receiving the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. The latest on her condition.
And after leading the nation's second largest school district, After leading it for 3 years, LAUSD Superintendent Austin Buettner stepping down. Early edition of the KTLA5 Morning News, starting right now. Hey, good morning to you on this Thursday, or pre-Friday if you like. I'm Chris Shaw.
I'm Megan Henderson. We appreciate you being with us. We're checking your commute with Ginger coming up in just a bit. First, let's check in with Henry. Get a look at our weather.
Some drizzle out there this morning, and we're going to continue to see that with some cooler weather as we have temperatures today that are taking a back seat to what could be a little bit more extensive drizzle throughout the morning. We'll definitely see that in through the Inland Empire, the High Desert, Inland Orange County. We'll talk more about the drizzle, nice cool day, and then we'll start to see a little bit of a warm up as we head into the weekend. Ginger enjoying the day off. Lynette, great to see Lynette, great to see you.
It's okay, Megan, no problem. I'm so happy to be here with you guys on this Thursday morning. We do have an issue to tell you about in Burbank, and that's where we have a spin out that we want to tell you about. This is the 134 West at Hollywood Way, And again, it is a solo vehicle accident. Some sort of a spin out that happened. The number 4 lane at this point is blocked, but it is going to cause some delays if you're heading through that area. Again, this is in the Burbank area, the 134 West at Hollywood Way. And then we're going to take a quick look at our IE wide. And at 4:01 in the morning, it is wide open and lots of green out there. All right, I'm Lynette Romero in today for Ginger Chandler, and send back to you guys.
All right, Lynette, thank you. After 3 years on the job, LAUSD Superintendent Austin Buettner stepping down when his contract expires in June.
KTLA's Carlos Herrera live in downtown LA with reaction. Carlos, good morning.
Yeah, Chris, Megan, good morning. Superintendent Buettner will resign officially his last day, June 30th, which is when his contract expires with the LAUSD. He says his remaining 2 months with LAUSD will be focused on making sure that all LAUSD's schools reopen in the safest way possible. In a letter to the board, Superintendent Buettner did mention that a new superintendent should have the privilege of welcoming students back to campus in the fall. The 61-year-old didn't indicate why he planned on leaving after leading the district for 3 years. He joined the nation's second largest school district in 2018 with no previous school management experience and led it through a chaotic year of coronavirus-forced campus closures and a disruptive teacher strike. His departure will now mean LAUSD must search for a new leader while struggling to deal with campus reopenings. The board didn't indicate who would temporarily replace him or when it would select a replacement, but it's a process that can take up to a year or even more. Buettner has recommended choosing someone from within the district. The teachers union is now calling for a, quote, superintendent who is committed to a robust, fully resourced public school system that serves all our communities equitably, and quote. Now, Buettner says he will be helping with a seamless leadership transition. He is expected to attend an event in Boyle Heights later this morning. For now, reporting live in downtown LA at LAUSD headquarters, I'm Carlos Herrera, KTLA 5 News.
All right, Carlos, thank you. Residents in Moore Park are left in shock after a 76-year-old woman is viciously attacked and then raped inside of her apartment. Neighbors called authorities after hearing screams coming from the woman's unit along Charles Street Tuesday morning. When Ventura County Sheriff's deputies arrived, they found a naked man in the apartment complex courtyard and the elderly victim in her apartment severely beaten. Authorities immediately arrested the suspect, who is now identified as 49-year-old Edward Ayens. Investigators say Ayens was in an extremely agitated state and was under the influence of methamphetamine.
Yeah, apartment where she was at, I could hear at least female voice screaming, male voice yelling and yelling and yelling and yelling.
We have veteran detectives who were there that were really shook up by what they saw.
Investigators are trying to figure out a motive for the attack, but a preliminary investigation revealed that the suspect knew the unidentified victim. She was taken to the hospital in critical but stable condition. The suspect, who has a lengthy criminal history, is now facing charges of attempted murder, rape, and elder abuse.
Bail has been reduced for the father accused of helping his son hide Kristen Smart's body after the Cal Poly student vanished back in 1996. 80-year-old Ruben Flores made a virtual court appearance yesterday where the judge reduced his bail to $50,000. His son, Paul Flores, is accused of killing Kristen Smart during an attempted rape in his dorm room. He's being held without bail. Both father and son have pleaded not guilty. Prosecutors say they have biological evidence Smart's body was buried beneath the deck at Ruben Flores' home in Arroyo Grande and was recently moved.
Governor Gavin Newsom has officially declared a drought emergency in our state, but it's only for 2 counties in Northern California. The move makes various forms of drought assistance available for Sonoma and Mendocino counties. Now, the areas get water from the Russian River, which feeds 2 reservoirs. The dry conditions have caused them to be at historically low levels. The governor says he's looking at drought conditions on a case-by-case basis, while some lawmakers say it needs to go further than that.
We are taking a sequential approach, we're taking a targeted approach, and we're taking an approach based upon actual conditions on the ground.
We should be doing this on a statewide basis because you cannot regionalize this emergency. That's not the way water works.
A statewide drought could lead to sweeping cutbacks in urban water use, including restrictions on watering lawns. We called this weeks ago.
Yeah.
Not hard to do, given our ongoing situation.
Yeah.
water usage, and then you'll drive somewhere and see whether it's a business or a municipal building or something watering cement. Invariably it happens.
And you'll also notice that your water bill will go up,
but not down.
And then next year, if we're lucky enough that we have an overabundance of water, you'll see that water bill go down. Probably not. Once these things go up. But that is a serious story.
It's a very serious story.
We do live in that kind of constant state there where we're concerned about water. And the Russian River, that's where Pliny the Elder comes from. That's one of the best breweries in the world is Russian River Brewery. And there's some good wines coming out of there.
Yeah, there is. Who in this studio has swam in the Russian River?
You. I'm going to say Megan.
Myself, Jim over there. I did it as part of the Vine Man Half Ironman. And I remember it's warm. So warm that you didn't need to wear wetsuits.
Well, it's only warm when you're kind of in the back end of a triathlon. If you're in the front of the swimmers, it's the water's.
What are you trying to say, Henry?
I'm trying to say, Chris, when you got about 50 men and women in front of you in the water tends to get a little warmer the farther back you go.
But the sad part is, I bet right now you could probably walk parts of it like it's nothing.
Yeah, and you know what? You're right. It is a serious storm. You could see just the backdrop of the governor's live show there. He was in the riverbed. I mean, it was completely empty. But anyway, hopefully no one takes offense to us having a little fun of, again, at Megan Henderson. Any problems?
That was tame. By our standards, that was tame.
I know. Like, you're worried about that?
Well, because those are the things that tend to bring me down, Megan.
Okay.
I say the most outrageous stuff that I go home and I shouldn't have said that. And it just seems to, and then I'll say something like,
I shouldn't have bought a lemon.
I shouldn't have bought a lemon at Toyota Orange. And the next thing I know, I'm called in.
You and me both.
Yeah.
You get an email.
Yeah. And, we did sing it out of tune. I know Toyota Orange was a little disappointed. They wanted a little bit more when we did it. All right, 59 downtown, winds are calm. So we're going to get to Lynette, who's in for Ginger, in just a second. The big story weather-wise is that drizzle. Not the fact that we're getting drizzle. We've been talking about this really for about a week, but it does seem to be a little bit more extensive than the drizzle we had yesterday. And we've been showing you that on our future forecast. We did get a little more surge coming in on Thursday morning. Here we are Thursday morning. We are seeing some light drizzle out there. Wind advisory remains in place, extended into the high desert. Here is the future forecast. Remember, this is a computer model, and we go to a number of different ones, by the way. With this particular one, we put it into motion. We'll see what happens. We know we get morning clouds, and it does dissipate by 2 o'clock. We do get sunshine. It tries to reestablish itself tomorrow, and it does, so we'll get it again. But tomorrow we start to transition to more of an offshore flow for the weekend. So as we look ahead to Friday night, notice there's some clouds, but we're not seeing that full extension into the valleys overnight Friday. So we have the morning marine layer and drizzle today. We'll have it again tomorrow, not quite as extensive. And then Saturday morning into Sunday, we will see some sunshine. Saturday, we're going to have the most sunshine. Saturday is one of those days we'll wake up with sunshine for the most part. We'll end up with sunshine. Sunday, we start to cloud things up a little bit, but we're still holding on to some heat. And then Monday, we get ready for some showers. Not drizzle, showers. We get rain on Monday. Unless something drastically happens in the next 5 days, we have an area of low pressure that's going to cool us down considerably and bring us some rain. Nothing like what they're seeing in the Midwest and back east, where it's about snow and hail in the middle of April. We'll talk about that throughout the morning. Right now, Lynette, we'll send it over to you.
Good morning, Henry. Good morning to you at home. I'm sitting in today in the traffic center for Ginger Chan. We do have an incident to tell you about. This is in Burbank. This has been going on for a little bit now. There's a Woodway. Again, just one vehicle involved in this spin out. The number 4 lane is blocked at this point. Hopefully they'll be able to clear that up quickly and get people back on their way. And then we're going to look at the OC wide again for you. Again, this early in the morning, things are looking really good. Seen a little bit of issue there on the 73, but for the most part, things are smooth sailing in Orange County. And then let's look at LAX, the departure level. Pretty quiet, very peaceful. Looks pretty nice out there. A nice morning at LAX. All right, I'm going to send it back to you guys in the studio.
Lynette, thank you so much. 4:11 is the time. Coming up, the first photos of inmate Derek Chauvin.
Also, more body camera video was released of the police shooting that left a black teenager dead in Columbus, Ohio. What it reveals about the final seconds before she was killed.
And the Dodgers reserving seats for fans who've been fully vaccinated. We're live with details.
And local firefighters to the rescue. Their efforts to save a litter of kittens when we come back.
With no fees or minimums on checking and savings accounts, banking with Capital One is like the easiest decision in the history of decisions. Kind of like choosing Charles Barkley in a pickup game.
We'll take Barkley.
Ha! First pick. Sorry, kids.
Yep, even easier than that. And with our top-rated app, you can bank anytime, anywhere, making Capital One an even easier decision.
Okay, here's the plan. Pass me the ball every time.
This is banking reimagined. What's in your wallet?
New consumer accounts only. Approval required. Terms apply. Capital One N.A. member FDIC.
A strong work ethic takes pride in a job well done. This is you. But to get an honest day's work, you need a callback. You need a job. Express Employment Professionals can help. We'll connect you to the right company. We're committed to your success and never charge a fee to find you a job. Express knows jobs. Get to know Express. Find your location at expresspros.com or on the Express Jobs app.
You can say a lot about yourself without saying a word. So, what are you saying about yourself? Project Shine will let you say you're a good person and connect you with a great cause through Volunteer Match. They help thousands of nonprofit causes who need your help. Many right here in our area. Say you let your light shine without saying a word.
Go to KABC.com now to connect with Project Shine.
A Better Life with Dr. Sanjay Gupta.
You ever heard of a weighted blanket? I'm Dr. Sanjay Gupta, CNN's chief medical correspondent, and I know people who swear by these. Most blankets weigh just a couple pounds, but a weighted blanket can weigh anywhere from 5 to 30 pounds. The idea, according to one pulmonary and sleep specialist we talked to, is that they provide deep pressure simulation, a feeling that resembles a firm but gentle squeeze or holding sensation that triggers these feelings of relaxation and calm. They're designed to work similar to the way that tight swaddling helps newborns feel snug and secure. That's what another expert told us. Weighted blankets may be a trick to try for people who are struggling with anxiety or depression or insomnia, but they're probably not going to be a good idea for people who deal with obstructive sleep apnea, asthma, people who have breathing difficulties, or claustrophobia. I'm Dr. Sanjay Gupta, helping you live a better life.
I asked what kind of family she wanted. She said, a family like yours.
Learn more about adopting a teen at adoptuskids.org. You can't imagine the reward. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
How low can you go?
How low can you go? This is utterly idiotic.
Armstrong and Getty, morning 6 to 10, just before Larry O'Connor on AM 790 KABC.
Chauvin's 7 by 10-foot cell is in a high-security section away from other prisoners. U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland has announced a Justice Department investigation into the Minneapolis Police Department and whether it has engaged in a pattern of racial discrimination. New body camera video has been released of the police shooting death of a teenage girl in Ohio.
Investigators say the teenager was about to stab another girl with a knife when the officer opened fire to stop her. KTLA's John Fanolio shows us the new video, and I want to warn you, it's tough to watch.
It happened in a matter of seconds. A deadly encounter between police in Columbus, Ohio, and 16-year-old Makia Bryant. Police responded to frantic 911 calls for an attempted stabbing at a home on the southeast side of town Tuesday. Body camera video shows officers arriving to a chaotic scene. Authorities say Bryant was holding a knife as she lunged at a girl who falls to the ground, then charged toward a second woman dressed in pink who is pinned against a car. Bryant is wearing jeans and a black t-shirt and appears to have a knife in her right hand. Investigators say Officer Nicholas Reardon then fired 4 shots at the 16-year-old, who falls to the ground before police rush to her aid.
What's her name?
Both performed CPR for more than 6 minutes until paramedics arrived. Video also shows police briefly interviewing witnesses at the scene, including the woman in the pink sweatsuit.
She came after me.
With a knife?
Yeah, so he got her.
And Officer Reardon, who fired the fatal shots.
She charged the other person with a knife, and she kept charging her with a knife.
Regardless of the circumstances associated with this, a 16-year-old girl lost her life yesterday. I sure as hell wish it had happened.
Former FBI Special Agent Harry Trumbitis says Officer Reardon appeared to use deadly force to save the life of another person.
We're authorized to do that and protect our lives and the lives of other people. And matter of fact, it's a duty. It's not an option.
The shooting has sparked renewed outrage and unrest over police use of force and race relations in Columbus and across the country.
They're trained to de-escalate, and so they need to start de-escalating when it comes to black people, because we're not a threat. We're scared for our lives.
The officer involved in the shooting has been placed on administrative leave. The mayor of Columbus says state investigators will figure out if his use of force was justified. Coming up next hour, what Lakers star LeBron James tweeted and then deleted about the case that is causing controversy.
They say early bird gets the worm, and this morning stargazers will be treated to the Lyrid meteor shower. The annual display is known for producing shooting stars. Started at midnight. Best time to see it, though, is right now through when the sun comes up. Could be a little tougher to see this year because the moon is about 70% full. Every year from January to mid-April, we experience a meteor drought. Lyrid meteor shower marks the end of that drought. According to NASA, the shower has been observed for 2,700 years.
Not to be confused with Henry's lurid shower, often taken this time of the year. Here he is with your forecast.
Only when it's warm out. A little difficult this morning because it's, a little...
It is cool, man.
It is cool. You need a sweatshirt when you head out the door. Some will say, no sweatshirt. But, for some, feel a little chill in the air. You might want to...
What do they say?
Not sure this is the best place for me to be standing.
Why?
I don't know. I just don't like
flame?
the red, a little red illumination there. It's just like I'm ready to blast off or something. Anyway, we're in Long Beach. Guys, it's Thursday. I don't know about you, but I generally am in a good mood. But I'm in an exceptionally good mood.
Ooh, what you got cooking?
I don't know. I just feel a little sickness coming on this Thursday. No, not at all. I'm just happy the weekend is here. We're going to have some really close enough, right?
Got one more day.
We got one more day, Megan, and I feel like Friday is my best work, so
yeah.
I'm looking forward to that, as you know. 57 LAX, 54 in Oxnard, Santa Ana 59, Big Bear 28 with clear skies. So calm conditions. I shouldn't say clear skies. Calm conditions there. The wind's not an issue. The winds are a bit of an issue into the high desert. Of course, those of you checking in from the high desert, you already know that. Storm tracker, we're going to put this into motion. We do know that today we have morning clouds, we have some morning drizzle. Tomorrow we should see a little pause heading into the weekend. But let's put this into motion because this is a pretty decent area of low pressure and that trailing cold front. Remember, all the cold air is behind the front and then it moves through. Area of low pressure tries to stick together. It does. We get the southern stretch of this area of low pressure that's going to move through, and this is Monday morning. I point this out because it looks like we're going to get rain on Monday. Not this drizzle. I mean, no more fooling around with a little drizzle here or there. We're going to actually get some measurable rain. Don't want to call it huge, big downpours with big, gaudy numbers, but nonetheless, anything measurable this time of the year, that's pretty good storm for us because we are sitting here in the middle of April. Coastal forecast, 64. There's a little break tomorrow. We do get plenty of sunshine on Saturday, and then Sunday we start to cloud things up. Monday we bring in that rain that I mentioned. The good news about Monday's rain, if you're thinking, no, please, it's kind of quick. I mean, we're going to bring it in overnight. Most of the rain will fall during the morning hours. We'll see clearing Monday afternoon, and then the rest of the week, it'll all be about a warm-up, which we'll talk more about throughout the week. Lynette, in for Ginger, good morning.
Good morning, Henry. Good morning to you at home. We are keeping an eye on your morning commute if you're heading out the door bright and early this morning. We do have a situation still going on in Burbank we've been talking about so far this morning since we got on the air. This is the 134 West at Hollywood Way. We understand it's just one vehicle, a spin out, and the number 4 lane is blocked. But you can see that it started out being a little bit of yellow and some red there, and now it's back to green. So it looks like things are finally opening up there if you're heading through that area of Burbank. And then we're going to look at Newhall Wide and show you what's happening there. Again, looks so good at 4:21 in the morning. A lot of green going on, no problem at all. And then our Caltrans camera here, this is the 405 South at Victory Boulevard in Van Nuys. And it looks really good. So that's what the good morning for you. So far this morning. I'm Lynette Herrero in today for Ginger Channel. Send it back to you.
All right, thank you so much, Lynette.
Road in Leith, an investigation causing queues. In Staffordshire, the A5 is closed eastbound towards junction T7 of the M6 toll where a lorry's overturned. In Somerset, the A303 is closed at Ilminster after an accident overnight. And in East Port Talbot, the A48 is closed in both directions by the M4 flyover in Port Talbot after an accident. That's the latest. I'm Russell Holding.
Mid-morning with Mike Graham. Talk Radio. The Independent Republic of Mike Graham on Talk Radio.
Welcome back to the Independent Republic of Mike Graham. It is, of course, the home of common sense. We are the only place where you will hear the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And as part of that project, let us now go to Ms. Truth herself, LaDonna Harvey, over in San Diego, California, the co-host, I should say, in fairness to her co-host, of KOGO's Breakfast Show. LaDonna, very good morning to you.
Good morning to you and my co-host, Ted Garcia. Thank you.
Yes, well, you know how touchy these radio people get if you don't mention them, you know. They say, what do you mean you host your own show? It's a shocking state of affairs. Now, listen, I'm really looking forward to what you're planning to do about Earth Day. I'm hoping you're going to tell me you're going to get in the Corvette and steam up the San Diego freeway at high speed.
Well, there's every chance that will happen because that happens virtually every day. So, yes, that is, in fact, how I'm celebrating Earth Day while I'm drinking high alkaline water because I don't know, because I can.
Well, listen, if I even knew what that was, I'd probably join you, but I've just got regular water here, which comes out of the tap.
Yes, I don't do that, but I live in Southern California, man.
Yeah, exactly right.
It doesn't come out of a plastic bottle, then it's just not right.
No, but Joe Biden, I understand, is probably going to be drinking some water as well today because he's going to be celebrating Earth Day by having a virtual summit about the climate.
Yes, indeed. The Democrats are back in power, and that means that climate change is top of mind. Greenhouse gases and gas-powered cars, and I don't know, electricity and things that aren't a mud hut.
Yes.
Are all bad.
Well, the thing is the great thing you have to know about Democrats is that one, they'll put climate change right at the top of the agenda. They'll also start wars.
Well, there's every chance that could happen. Yes.
Well, I mean,
if anything goes at this point.
Yeah, I mean, he was rattling the saber about Putin the other week, wasn't he? And talking about, how he was going to find out soon what America was going to do about the fact that he was a killer. So far, we haven't seen anything. What America was going to do about the fact that he was a killer. So far, we haven't seen anything terrible happen, but there is a bit of a NATO-Russia standoff going on currently on the Ukraine border.
Yes, there is, and Putin is old USSR. I mean, for those of us who are old enough to remember the USSR.
Funnily enough, I was just talking about it because we've got a statue of Ronald Reagan, which was formerly in Grosvenor Square, where the old American embassy was. Since they've taken the embassy down, they've also taken the statue down. It's in a warehouse currently, and we're trying to get it put up somewhere else. But unfortunately, I'm actually old enough to remember not only Ronald Reagan being president, I was actually in the Ronald Reagan White House when Charles and Diana visited. So tragically, I'm that old.
Tragically, indeed. But if memory serves, we all remember, those of us of a certain age, the food lines in Russia, the people starving to death, people sent to Gulag in the USSR. And Putin would like a return to that. He wants Russia to be a power again, and he wants to do it by grabbing Crimea and Ukraine and every other former Soviet bloc country that they want to have.
Right, because he's now feeling a little bit churlish about having given them up on the grounds that now the European Union's trying to grab them.
Right, I know, and how dare an independent country decide that it wants to join a European Union or not join one, as it happens, and make that decision for itself. He sees it as an existential threat to Russia, and they're dominant.
Right. And I saw, did I not, this morning, a news line coming out of the White House in which Biden said they were going to reduce massively America's greenhouse gas emissions. I'm not quite sure how he's planning to do that because, I mean, with reference to the San Diego freeway, you know, I've seen that road and there's 16 lanes of traffic on it pretty much solidly all day, every day.
Yeah, well, if Biden gets it his way, there won't be. It'll be either all bicycles or electric cars that have no drivers in them, and I'm not doing that.
Well, I mean, I'm not getting in a car with no driver, considering that the last one that they took out anywhere seems to crash.
Yes. Yeah, so for some reason, the driverless cars seem to have a problem.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine.
Oh, I hate that.
And I don't even. How bad I am.
Yeah, no, I don't find that in any way strange. I think that's perfectly acceptable, you know. But yeah, I mean, I don't understand this idea that people want to be driven by something which is a robot and effectively there's nobody there. I don't get it.
You know, I think it really comes down to, and I hate to say this, but it comes down to control. If you can control where people can go, when they can go, you can control them.
Yes.
You know, it's one of the things that is key to keeping a population under control is being able to decide where they can go and when they can go.
And I mean, the great thing about America is that it's still, relatively speaking, the land of the free. You know, this country's never been as free as America. But some of the stuff they're trying to push on us now as a result of the COVID pandemic and the fact that we're now lifting regulations, but still we're going to have these regulations, you know, you're going to meet 6 people, not 7, because obviously if 7 people meet, somebody's going to die. And you're going, what?
Right.
I really don't think that's going to happen, actually.
Yeah, it's, you know, everything is political now. It doesn't matter if it's a health crisis or a sprained ankle. It's a political crisis, and it's going to have to be dealt with politically. And that's not a good place to be.
No, it really isn't. And I guess we should mention Minneapolis because the verdict came in just the other night, and I suppose from the point of view of the civil calm and civil disobedience and the riots and all that, it was one decision that didn't upset anybody, so they didn't feel like they had to set fire to it.
Right, and you know, quite frankly, I think it was the right decision. To be perfectly honest, you know, you have a guy who knelt on another guy on his neck for 9 minutes, and he died. And I think that all of us would agree that policing is about taking a bad guy off the street, hopefully without killing him. And, you know, what you see with George Floyd is a guy who was down on the ground and is not really a threat to anyone.
Right.
And at that point, when you're a police officer and you have control of a suspect, then you are now in charge of that suspect's life and liberty, essentially.
Yes.
And it's just your job to get him in the car and take him to jail. That's what your job is.
Yes. And I mean, as a result of all of it, and as a result of all of it, is it likely that there will be some form of change to? I mean, there's talk of them saying that, you know, they're going to change the rules of engagement for some of these cops, that they won't be able to put choke holds, they won't be able to kneel on people's necks anymore. Is that actually going to happen?
I think it will, and I think it needs to. You know, policing is, you know, we're allowing a very select few people to carry guns, and essentially, you know, they have the power to arrest us and to take us to jail and to take away our freedom. And that power needs to be used very judiciously. And for the longest time in America, police kind of got a pass on what happened, you know, during that arrest. And that time, I think, has ended, and that's a good thing. It doesn't mean you can't arrest somebody. It just means you can't kneel on them for 9 minutes.
Right.
I don't think that's going to ruin policing.
No, I think that's probably a very sensible way to look at it. Donna, thank you, as ever, for talking to us. Donna Harvey from KOGO in San Diego, Southern California, and lots more to come, of course. How about this from Pete, who says, Mike, about 10 years ago, I was cycling home from work from the city to the Isle of Dogs, most of which was along the Thames path. On West Ferry Road, I went through a small puddle that was an 8-inch deep pothole. Dislocated my wrist, wrecked my bike and my clothes, and had to take a week off. It was all thrown out of court because they fixed the hole the next day. That's outrageous, isn't it? Absolutely outrageous. How can you not be able to seek compensation for something like that happening to you? just because the council decide to fix the hole that caused you all the trouble. Absolute madness. Lots more to do. Loads more of you to talk to as well. 0344 499 1000. Helen Nicklin's going to be along as well with some fizz. Let's get some news headlines. Here's Amelia Cox.
Talk Radio. Half-hour headlines.
The government has apologised over the failure to properly commemorate black and Asian service personnel who died fighting for the British Empire. Ben Wallace has been speaking after a report accused the Commonwealth War Graves Commission of pervasive racism. It found at least 116,000 casualties from World War I weren't formally remembered in the same way as white troops. The Defence Secretary told MPs there were a number of reasons for this.
Prejudice played a part in some of the Commission's decisions. In some cases, the IWGC assumed that communities of forgotten personnel would not recognise or value individual forms of commemoration. In other cases, they were simply not provided with the names or burial locations.
The Commonwealth War Graves Commission has vowed to act immediately to correct the situation. The US has pledged to cut carbon emissions by at least 50% below 2005 levels by the end of this decade. The new target will be revealed at a virtual summit of 40 global leaders later and essentially doubles their previous promise. The White House hopes the new plan will encourage China, India and other countries to go further in their targets. India has recorded the highest one-day tally of coronavirus cases anywhere in the world. It reported more than 314,000 infections in 24 hours as an acute oxygen shortage is raising more fears about its overwhelmed healthcare system. And taking the knee at this summer's Olympics is set to be banned following a survey response from athletes. The International Olympic Committee had asked those taking part whether current rules which ban political, religious or racial protests should be changed. Of the 3,547 athletes who responded, two-thirds said they didn't want to change in the rules. The weather dry and fine for most of the UK, cloudy for the far north of Scotland and the Northern Isles with the odd shower, breezy in southwest England.
Driven with Andy J. Saturday afternoon from 4 on Talk Radio. Cruise into the weekend where star names are queuing up to be part of the conversation.
Joining me on Driven this week, Alexander Armstrong, Ben Barnes, Quentin Wilson and Rona Noir.
Driven with Andy J. Saturday afternoon from 4 on Talk Radio.
Mid-morning with Mike Graham. Talk Radio. The Independent Republic of Mike Graham on Talk Radio.
The Drop Zone on Talk Radio with bonus drop from William Hill Vegas. Play for free. Your chance to win instant free spins, bonuses and up to £1,000 a day in cash. Visit williamhill.com. 18 plus begambleaware.org.
It's time for the Drop Zone with William Hill. I've often said, and I said it yesterday, that I'm the greatest debater of all time. So the production team have given me 3 unlikely arguments that they think I would never make. I'm going to drop the coin to see which one of these arguments I will have to pick. Right, today's topics are why I think the European Super League is the best thing to happen to football, why Ellie Goulding posing with her baby bump in the... Keeping your home cool with Ivy is the best way to keep cool over the course of the hot weather. Let's see where we land and let's see which argument I'll have to make. And it has settled on the European Super League. Well, who would have thought that, right? The European Super League has been absolutely debated and debated and debated to the nth degree this week, because all over TalkSport, our sister station here in the News UK building, people have been calling in, people have been absolutely opposed to it, people have been telling us how terribly greedy all of these clubs have become. Manchester United, Tottenham Hotspur, Chelsea, Manchester City, Arsenal, Liverpool, all of these football clubs that should have known better should never have gone down this road, and they were all kind of led on apparently by the boss of Real Madrid, who of course is basically telling people that they've run out of money in Spain and not enough people come to watch their football, so they need to do something else. Now here's the debate which I think you need to know, and here's the reason why the European Super League is a great idea, because the European Super League doesn't have to sit on its own. People who join it do not have to disappear off from every other league. They can still play in the Premier League. The only reason the Premier League said that they couldn't play in the Premier League was because because they were feeling left out. They were feeling in some way jealous of the fact that there was more money to be made in the European Super League. Other people said, no, you can't have a European Super League without the Germans. You can't have a European Super League without the French. You can't just have a European Super League with Italy, Spain and England. What about Scotland? Why don't you bring them in? Well, that's the whole point. When you start off with a Super League, it can expand. And people got their knickers in a right old twist about whether relegation was important, whether promotion was important. And let me tell you this, there is no reason for relegation to be an issue. Do you really think that any of those 6 big clubs would be relegated from the Premier League? Of course they wouldn't. And similarly, they would not be promoted either, because there's nowhere else to go out of the top of the Premier League, apart from the Champions League, which has already been expanded by UEFA, who make loads of money and are not very happy about the fact that they're now possibly being threatened with not making loads of money. The argument is quite simple. The European Super League is going to come. And make no mistake, those people in football who know about football will actually agree with me. Lots of people have been on social media recently to say that I'm wrong about this, that I've got it wrong. Well, I haven't got it wrong, because you will find out in due course that actually money talks and everything else walks. And I think you know what I'm talking about. The European Super League is a thing of great beauty. And the way the NFL works in America is that nobody gets relegated. Nobody gets to go anywhere else. They're all in one particular league, which is divided up into 6 different bits, and they all have an opportunity to win the Super Bowl. It's actually fairer than the current situation in the Premier League. So I can tell you for now, what you need to know is that the European Super League is a great idea, and it will happen. And the Germans will join it, the French will join it, every other European country will join it, and maybe, if they get good enough, even the Scots will join it. But that could take some time. This is, of course, the Drop Zone with William Hill of Vegas. Play for your free daily chance to win instant free spins, bonuses, and up to £1,000 a day in cash. Visit williamhill.com. 18 plus. BeGamblerWare.com.
The Drop Zone on Talk Radio with bonus drop from William Hill Vegas. Get all the excitement at Vegas. Visit williamhill.com. 18 plus. BeGamblerWare.org.
So he told you I can make any argument. I can make any argument. I can make the opposite argument if you like. If you want to give me 2 possible impossibilities and make me choose one or the other, I can do both. Let's talk to David, who's in Ipswich. Hello, David.
Hello, Mike. How are you doing?
Very well, sir. What can I do for you?
I think poor old Boris is getting the opposition leader wrong. He's not Captain Hindsight, he's Captain Calamity. Because only a complete idiot would actually try to make something out of James Dyson, this company spending £20 million to make ventilators, to save people in our NHS, and he asked just one thing. And the one thing was pretty simple, that even he should be able to understand it. A load of people over from Singapore to make these. He has to pay them tax. When they go back to Singapore, they have to declare their earnings. So they have to pay tax again. So they're coming over to do us a favour, and they're paying double tax on their money that they're earning. All he asked was, we don't have a double taxation agreement with Singapore, so would it be possible not to tax them in the UK and just let them be taxed as normal?
Which seems perfectly reasonable, doesn't it?
I can't understand why he's trying to take a fight in another parliamentary commission. There's another examination of this. When Dyson's actually paid the 20 million quid himself to make the thing.
I know. Well, the thing is with Starmer, right, he's got nothing. He's literally got a cupboard which is entirely bare. He's got no ideas. He's got no policies. He's got no belief system. The only thing he knows is that if he keeps saying one word over and over again, somebody might actually take some notice of it. And that's why he keeps saying sleaze, Tory sleaze. And nobody's listening. Nobody cares.
Mike, can I also say, Mike, that the day I saw that picture of him doing the kneeling thing with the other woman, you could see the look on his face, and his face was saying, why am I doing this again?
I know. Well, that's the look he's always got on his face. He's got this kind of quizzical look on his face all the time, I mean, what about what happened in Bath as well, by the way? I mean, he could not have got that more wrong. To say to a Labour voter, I don't need any lectures from the likes of you. I mean, really? Really?
That's the Gordon Brown moment.
It really was, yeah. I mean, long may he continue. I mean, I have to say, though, Dave, I don't know if you were listening to Prime Minister's questions yesterday in full, but my star of the week has to be Ian Blackford's dog, surely.
Oh, Anyway,
How brilliant was that?
After the event, I always play it, but I still can't get it at the time there, and I replay it back. I think you couldn't write it, could you?
I mean, he looks shifty at the best of times, but he was looking left and right to see what he could do to stop the dog from barking, and he couldn't stop it. And Boris was brilliant, actually. I mean, that's why we love Boris, because he said, actually, the dog made more sense than you did. Entirely correct. In fact, you should put the dog in charge of the Labour Party, see if he does any better than Starmer. He'll probably get closer in the polls, for heaven's sake. David, thank you very much indeed. Absolutely extraordinary, wasn't it, yesterday? I'm hoping that's going to make it into the Perrier Awards, which return this week with Yorkshire's finest, Izzy, who will be putting them all together even as we speak. Let me tell you about this letter to the Times, by the way, because I found some more people who have signed it. A bloke called Yao Ming, Chinese basketball executive, former basketball player, net worth $120 million. Shakira Mubarak, Colombian singer and songwriter, net worth $300 million. I've already done Naoko Yamazaki, engineer, former astronaut, $165 million. Hindu Ibrahim is an expert in the adaptation and mitigation of indigenous peoples to climate change, net worth $5 million. There's a lot of money in this climate change, you know. Cristiana Figueres, a Costa Rican diplomat, $5 million she's worth, and Kate Blanchett, $95 million. And at the very top of the list, the man who has signed it in his own hand, Prince William, net worth $30 million. I said this actually last weekend when we were talking about Prince Philip. You know, don't make the mistake of thinking that Prince William is some kind of old-fashioned, you know, old Etonian type. He is about as woke as you can get. I mean, the fact that Hazza makes him look less woke does not mean that he's not woke. He is very woke, and he's now leading the charge, having written this letter to the Times about climate change. And I mean, quite frankly, I don't know anyone that listens to this station who wants any of it, right? I mean, who does? The Duke of Cambridge calling for the same unity of purpose and spirit of invention behind the development of coronavirus vaccines to be harnessed to tackle climate change. Dear oh dear. I think we should drink some champagne, but we can't because we haven't got any. What we do have, though, is some sparkling wine, some Cava, and some Prosecco. Now, it was only relatively recently that I discovered that Cava is only actually manufactured in Spain. I didn't realise that, but apparently it's like a trademark, same as Prosecco is only manufactured in Italy. We can't call it champagne if we make it here, we have to call it sparkling wine. We're going to have a go. Helen Nicolin is going to be here, award-winning drinks writer, TV presenter, of course, one of the three drinkers, because this is the Thursday Club.
Online, on DAB, and on the Talk Radio app. Talk Radio.
Imagine how it'd feel to win £10,000. Like you'd smashed it. With Set for Life, you could win £10,000 every month for 30 years. Set for Life from the National Lottery. Your numbers make amazing happen. Play Thursday on app, online and in-store. Prize may be capped. Account terms, rules, procedures and game-specific rules apply. Players must be 18 or over.
Right now at TradePoint with an unmissable trade-only introductory offer. Get 2 trade packs of 1400 Turbo Gold screws for just £40. Plus, if you've loyalty discount, you'll get this on top. Shop in-store or at tradepoint.co.uk. Offer ends 6th of May. Single pack price £30. See tradepoint.co.uk.
Auto Express magazine are calling it 2021's coolest SUV. We call it the all-new Voxel Mocha. Its unmistakable design makes it impossible to ignore. But it's not just the coolest SUV, it's also one of the most advanced. Take the adaptive cruise control. It automatically keeps you a consistent distance from the car in front, making for a more relaxing drive. That's smart and stylish. The all-new Voxel Mocha in electric, petrol and diesel. Search New Mocha.
No one.
See tradepoint.co.uk.
Auto Express magazine are calling it 2021's coolest SUV. We call it the all-new Voxel Mocha. Its unmistakable design makes it impossible to ignore. But it's not just the coolest SUV, it's also one of the most advanced. Take the adaptive cruise control. It automatically keeps you a consistent distance from the car in front, making for a more relaxing drive. That's smart and stylish. The all-new Voxel Mocha in electric, petrol and diesel. Search New Mocha.
No one ever talks about their failures. It's like
we see failure as the enemy, when really it's our friend. Take me, right now, failing miserably at speaking in front of people, losing my words, forgetting my place, failing, but trying, so that one day soon I'll be the one up front on an operation, filling everyone else with confidence. Fail, learn, win, find where you belong. Search army jobs.
New Vodafone Pro broadband. With automatic 4G broadband backup on the UK's best network as voted by readers of trusted reviews. So your connectivity is protected from accidents. Invincible broadband at unbeatable prices from £35 a month. Vodafone. Together we can.
Plug dongle into router for auto backup, only using fixed line fault. Speed and coverage vary. 50 gig 4G data included. Terms and verification, vodafone.co.uk/broadband.
These days, everybody seems to be baking, so you give it a go. How hard can it be? Bit of kneading, bit of proving, and you bake a masterpiece. Now that feels like winning. So roll with it and turn today into Wednesday with a scratch card. Make today a Wednesday with a scratch card from the National Lottery. Your numbers make amazing happen. Search Dream Big, Play Small. Rules and procedures apply. Players must be 18 or over.
Talk Radio. Traffic and travel.
In Staffordshire, the A5 is closed eastbound off junction T7 of the M6 toll at Cannock after a lorry overturned with queues as a result. In Somerset, the A303 is closed in both directions between Ilminster and South Petherton after an accident overnight. There are delays as you divert. Beneath Port Talbot, the A48 is closed eastbound by the M4 flyover in Port Talbot after an accident with queues there. And in London, Whitehall is closed northbound from Parliament Square to Trafalgar Square after an accident. I'm Russell Holding.
Julia Hartley Brewer at breakfast on Talk Radio with up-to-the-minute breaking news, expert guidance and non-stop conversation.
Do you understand how insane that actually sounds?
Unparalleled radio for unprecidented times.
Either the vaccine works or it doesn't, and if it works, we don't need vaccine.